You all ready to go? Good afternoon, and thank you for attending. First, I would like to thank the men and women who stand behind me today for their outstanding work throughout this case. This was a time-sensitive matter, and the swift work and constant communication between these agencies resulted in the safe, I repeat, safe recovery of 2 helpless small children. As I often say, it takes all of us to keep our communities safe, and this was a fine, outstanding example of that. I would like to take the time now to recognize the agencies that assisted in this investigation. From United States Marshal Service, Agent Christopher Garcia, the Florida Caribbean Regional Fugitive Task Force, Fort Myers Division. From the FBI, my good friend David Christie in attendance. The Homeland Security's Investigations Division. From the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, my good friend Special Agent in Charge Shane Pollard. Our friends at the State Attorney's Office. From the Department of Children and Family Services, as well as our counterparts in Mexico. Thank you to each and every one of you for your continued partnership. I now will turn this over to my Sergeant of Homicide, Glenn Thompson, for further briefing.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. On June 21st at approximately 9:49 p.m., officers with the Fort Myers Police Department responded to 1830 Maravilla Avenue in reference to an assist other agency call. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office needed assistance in reference to 2 missing children. Due to the nature of the call, Fort Myers Police Detective Melissa Langton responded and took over the investigation. During the initial investigation, detectives learned that both children, identified as Genesis Barrios and Yasmin Barrios, had left with Evelyn Sanchez Rojas, the biological mother of both children, and possibly Inner Barrios, the biological father, which is in violation of court order. Both juveniles were entered into FCIC and NCIC as missing endangered. These are both Florida and national databases. Due to the facts of this case, Detective Langton contacted the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. After meeting with them, it was determined that FDLE would issue a missing child alert. Our criminal intelligence unit learned that the children were not only being taken out of the state, but were going to be taken out of the country. Fort Myers police detectives worked closely with other jurisdictions, including FDLE, the United States Marshals, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, Homeland Security, to locate the missing children. Fort Myers police detectives have also issued a warrant at that time for the arrest of Evelyn Sanchez Rojas for interference with child custody. Part of this investigation, as with all investigations, is of course to speak to witnesses. Detectives spoke to Iris Barrios Ozario. She's the aunt of the missing children, and the children were placed into her custody by DCF. During our investigation, Iris told detectives that Ms. Rojas had traveled to her residence and picked up the children there. Through our investigation, we were able to disprove that statement. Detectives in turn arrested Ms. Barrios Ozario and charged her with interference with child custody and providing false information to law enforcement during a missing person or felony investigation. While our investigation was going on here, our federal partners, with the help of the Mexican police, were able to acquire the location of both missing children in Mexico. On June 23rd, the Mexican police recovered both children in Nuevo Leon, Mexico. Currently, Mexican authorities are working with our U.S. authorities for the safe return of both children. Detectives are currently completing warrant requests for Mr. Barrios as well. Our criminal investigation here continues until all parties are arrested and prosecuted. I would personally like to thank Detective Langton, the rest of our homicide, cold case, and our criminal intelligence unit for their outstanding performance and dedication to our city. This case could not have been resolved without the help of our state's attorney's office, the Department of Children and Family, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the United States Marshals, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, Homeland Security, and the Mexican police. This is just another example of our great partnerships that we have with local and federal counterparts. That concludes my statement. We'll have a brief Q&A.
Can you just clear something up, in that the sense that the aunt was arrested for believing the mother, but how exactly do you know that she was wrong about believing the mother, like her statement?
Okay. She wasn't arrested just for not believing her mother or the mother. She lied during the investigation. We were able to disprove that through some investigative techniques and video, and prove that her statement to us was false. In turn, that leads us to believe that she knew that she was interference with custody, and like I said, to providing the false statement during the investigation.
So bouncing off of that, I know you detectives were there at the complex last week getting video, and that's where they saw the two little girls being taken out. If it wasn't for that video, would you guys have been able to determine what unfolded?
Yes, we had other examples.
Did the biological parents have any ties to Leon?
Yes, there was some family there from one of them, as one is a Mexican citizen, the other is a citizen of Guatemala.
Do you know where the parents are at this time?
They are still in Mexico, last time I heard.
Were you guys found the children, can you elaborate on the condition they were in?
They were found safe, unharmed. Mexican officials, just as precautionary, had them checked out at a hospital so that we know that they were safe, they were uninjured.
On the medical examination, is there updates regarding how it came back?
I don't have it. I'm sure there is. That I don't know.
Do you know where the kids were born at? They were born in Florida?
Yes, they were U.S. citizens.
Do we know where Florida was born?
Remember from the birth certificate?
I believe in Tampa, Hillsborough County.
Okay, so the only connection they really have to Fort Myers is the aunt that was brought here.
They have an aunt and they also have, I believe, a paternal grandfather in North Carolina.
And how long were they living in Fort Myers with the aunt?
A week tops.
Just a few days.
Are the parents under custody, and if so, are they facing what charges?
They are not in custody now. We're trying to work that out with our federal counterparts and Mexico officials.
You guys have them located,
We know where they're at as of a couple hours ago. Yes, ma'am.
The parents were just recently married too, right? June 11th?
They were.
Are you able to touch on the charges of Barrios for sexual assault?
I can't. That's not from our jurisdiction, so I can't elaborate on that at all.
Do you have a timeline when the parents could be back in?
I sure don't. No, ma'am.
And with the children?
I don't. I know they were working where the children had just gotten temporary passports, and Mexican version of their DCF was working with Hillsborough DCF for that transfer.
And how did they get to Mexico? Did they cross the border with a car? Or did
They drove. I just don't know that entry point or exit point.
Would the parents come back here or to Tampa if they were to be arrested?
If they were arrested and brought back to the States on charges, it would be here.
Do we know where the parents were from originally?
Once the mom's a Mexican citizen, if I'm not mistaken, and the father is from Guatemala.
So they're not a naturalized American citizen.
Who's going to take care of those children now?
They would go.
Don't believe the father is.
They would go back into DCF custody once they get back to the States.
Why were they taken from their biological parents in the first place?
You'd have to contact DCF for that, but there is a pending open investigation on the father from the Tampa Police Department.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.